Jesus came to Jerusalem for a special holiday called Passover. He rode into the city to great shouts of welcome.
Jesus and the disciples stayed each night with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus in Bethany, just a short distance outside of Jerusalem, as they prepared for Passover. Passover is a holiday that remembers God's bringing the people of Israel out of slavery in Egypt.
Now the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some sly way to arrest Jesus and kill him, but not during the feast, they said, or the people may riot.
Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them.
On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when it was customary to sacrifice the Passover lamb, Jesus' disciples asked him,
"Where do you want us to go and make preparations for you to eat the Passover?"
So he sent 2 of his disciples, telling them,
"Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Say to the owner of the house he enters, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large upper room, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there."
The disciples left, went into the city, and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12.
This is what Jesus and the disciples had for their Passover meal.
Parsley, bitter herbs. Parsley was dipped in salt water as a reminder of the tears that were shed while the Israelites were slaves in Egypt. Hard-boiled egg, a sign for spring and new life. Haroset, a mixture of apple, walnuts, lemon juice, cinnamon, and honey. It represents the mortar that the Israelites used when they were slaves, and the Pharaoh made them build with bricks. Matzah. Matzah is unleavened bread. It is a reminder that the Israelites left in such a hurry that they didn't have time to wait for their bread to rise. Lamb represents the sacrificial offering to God. Lamb's blood was used to mark the doorposts so that the angel of death would pass over the Israelites' houses. Elijah, we wait for him to visit.
The Passover meal was made up of special symbols of the story of the Israelites' escape from Egypt with Moses.
While they were reclining at the table eating, he said,
"I tell you the truth. One of you will betray me, one who is eating with me."
They were saddened
And one by one they said to him, "Surely not I."
It is one of the 12,
He replied,
one who dips bread into the bowl with me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born.
While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take it. This is my body."
And Jesus took the cup. He gave thanks, and he offered it to them. And they drank from this. And Jesus said, "This is my blood of the new covenant. It is poured out for you and for many." And he said to them, "I tell you the truth, I will not drink from this again, the fruit of the vine, until the day when I draw it anew in the kingdom of God."
"You will all fall away," Jesus told them, "for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter declared, "Even if all fall away, I will not." "I tell you the truth," Jesus answered. "Today, yes. Tonight, before the rooster crows twice, you yourself will disown me 3 times. But Peter insisted emphatically, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the others said the same.
Were you there when he gave them bread and wine? Were you there when he gave them bread and wine? Oh, oh, oh. Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when he gave them bread and wine?
They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples,
"Sit here while I pray."
He took Peter, James, and John along with him, and he began to be deeply distressed and troubled.
"My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death,"
he said to them.
"Stay here and keep watch."
Going a little farther, he fell to the ground, and that if possible the hour might pass for him.
"Abba, Father,"
he said,
"everything is possible for you. Take this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will."
Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping.
"Simon,"
he said to Peter,
"are you asleep? Could you keep watch for 1 hour? Watch and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak."
Once more he went away and prayed the same thing. When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. They did not know what to say to him. Returning the third time, he said,
"Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough! The hour has come. Look, the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes the betrayer."
Just as he was speaking, Judas, one of the 12, appeared. With him was a crowd armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them.
The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard.
Going at once to Jesus, Judas said,
Rabbi,
and kissed him. The man seized Jesus and arrested him.
Then one of those standing near drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Am I leading a rebellion, said Jesus, that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I was with you, teaching in the temple courts, and you did not arrest me, but the scriptures must be fulfilled. Then everyone deserted him and fled.
Were you there when he knelt to pray to God? Were you there when he knelt to pray to God? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when he knelt to pray to God?
They took Jesus to the high priest, and all the priests, chief priests, elders, and teachers of the law came together. Peter followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest. Then he sat with the guards and warmed himself by the fire.
The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for evidence against Jesus so that they could put him to death, but they could not find any. Many testified falsely against him, but their statements did not agree. Then some stood up again and gave their false testimony against him. We heard him say, I will destroy this man-made temple, and in 3 days will build another not made by man. Yet, even then, their testimony did not agree.
Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing against you? But Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. Again the high priest asked him, Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One? I am, said Jesus, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. The high priest tore his clothes. Why do we need any more witnesses? He asked. You have heard the blasphemy? What do you think? They all condemned him as worthy of death. Then some began to spit at him. They blindfolded him, struck him with their fists, and said, Prophesy! And the guards took him and beat him.
While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she looked closely at him. You also are with that Nazarene Jesus, she said, but he denied it. I don't know or understand what you're talking about, he said, and went out into the entryway. When the servant girl saw him there, she said again to those standing around, This fellow was one of them. Again he denied it. After a little while, those standing near to Peter said, Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean. He began to call down curses on himself and swore to them, I don't know this man you're talking about. Immediately the rooster crowed the second time. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken to him. Before the rooster crows twice, you will disown me 3 times. And he broke down and wept.
Were you there when Peter said, I don't know him? Were you there when Peter said, I don't know him? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when Peter said, I don't know him?
Very early in the morning, the chief priests, with the elders, the teachers of the law, and the whole Sanhedrin, reached a decision. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pontius Pilate.
Now it was the custom at the feast to release a prisoner whom the people requested. A man called Barabbas was in prison with the insurrectionists who had committed murder in the uprising. The crowd came up and asked Pilate to do for them what he usually did. Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews? Asked Pilate, knowing it was out of envy that the chief priests had handed Jesus over to him. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate release Barabbas instead. What shall I do then with the one you call King of the Jews? Pilate asked. Crucify him, they shouted. Why? What crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, Crucify him! Wanting to satisfy the crowd, Pilate released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified.
The soldiers led Jesus away into the palace, that is the praetorium, and called together the whole company of soldiers. They put a purple robe on him, and they twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on him. And they began to call out to him, Hail, King of the Jews! Again and again they struck him on the head with a staff, and they spit on him. And falling on their knees, they paid homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him. And they led him out to crucify him.
A certain man from Cyrene, Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on the way in from the country. Jesus stumbled.
Who will carry this cross? I'm not saying you. I said, who will carry this cross? You carry this cross.
The soldier seized Simon of Cyrene and forced him to carry the cross. They brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull.
Were you there when a stranger lent a hand? Were you there when a stranger lent a hand? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when a stranger lent a hand?
Jesus was nailed to a wooden cross between two robbers. It was a horrible death, which was normally kept for the worst criminals. His enemies laughed and yelled insults. As Jesus hung there in great pain, the whole world grew very dark. It was as though the sun could not bear to watch what was happening. The crowd was hushed. Jesus repeated one of the Psalms to himself. My God, why have you abandoned me? I have cried desperately for help, but still it does not come. After 3 agonizing hours, he cried out, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. He took one last deep breath, and then he died.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
It was evening when Joseph of Arimathea asked Pilate if he could take Jesus' body for burial.
Pilate was surprised to hear that he was already dead. Summoning the centurion, he asked him if Jesus had already died. When he learned from the centurion that it was so, he gave the body to Joseph of Arimathea. So Joseph brought some linen cloth, took down the body, wrapped it in linen, and placed it on a tomb cut out of rock. Then he rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus, saw where he was laid.
Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
Deep sadness and confusion filled the disciples. Saturday was the saddest day of their whole lives. Then, early Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene ran up to them excitedly. "Come and see! Something wonderful has happened. Come and see.
When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices so that they might go anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb and asked each other,
"Who would move the stone away from the entrance of the tomb?"
But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, sitting on the right side. They were alarmed.
"Don't be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you."